Hello guys and girls, welcome to the video. I am Yuvraj from Maratha Mandal Polytechnic Bragav and I am gonna discuss about disaster management in this presentation. So let's get going. Topics to be covered in this session. Introduction, objectives and phases of disaster. So before going into the depth of disaster management, let's learn what is disaster. Disaster is the event that causes harm or damage to life, health and ecology, whereas management means organization or control of the disaster. So now definition of disaster management. So what is disaster management? It is the organization dealing with all humanitarian aspects of emergencies. It is also known as emergency management and it can be also defined as effectively preparing and responding to disaster. Humanitarian aspects are all the aspects related to human beings and life. So now, what are the types of disaster? Disasters are divided into two types, that is natural disasters which are caused naturally and man-made disasters which are caused because of human beings. Floods, fire breakouts, forest fires, earthquakes, these all are related to natural disasters. And nuclear attacks, wars, terrorist attacks which are caused because of human beings are all considered as man-made disasters. So what are the objectives of disaster management? Why is it done? It is done for identifying the cause of hazards, reducing vulnerability and losses caused due to disaster, controlling the risk, providing relief such as food, shelter, money, medical, and other facilities to the victims, and giving protection and strength to the people against disasters. So there are four phases of disaster, mainly mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. Mitigation and preparedness occur before the disaster, and response and recovery occurs after the disaster. Before the disaster, mitigation. So what is mitigation? Mitigation involves steps to reduce the vulnerability of the disaster and are adopted for future emergencies and taking steps to minimize their effects. Next comes preparedness. So what is preparedness? Preparedness of preparation. These are measures undertaken to respond and deal with disasters. In simple words, being ready for anything before the time of emergencies is known as preparation or preparedness. So now, what comes after the disaster? The first one is response, that is, process of providing immediate measures and support to maintain life and health. The next one is recovery, that is, it can be defined as to rebuild, that is, showing some effort so that the things go back to normal. This may take a long time, sometimes years or decades. So now, water floods. Whenever the water level rises up due to heavy rainfall or other factors, the water may enter into cities, towns and villages, which may create heavy losses for the economy. To prevent this, mitigation and preparedness is done. Mitigation and preparedness can be done by construction of flood walls, observation of floodgates, watershed management projects, and erecting the levees. Here you can see the image of flood walls. This is watershed management and this is levees. It is a barrier constructed of soil or other material to prevent the entrance of water into the towns or cities. Now what if, in case, the mitigation and preparedness fails to stop the flood? How can we save the life of people? So here comes recovery and response. It consists of developing evacuation plans, providing relief features to the people, and rescue operations. Now before going into the depth of recovery and response, let's have a short information about watershed management. The main aim of watershed management is to conserve soil and water. Watershed management practices done are contour bunding, control of check dams, waterways, and diversion networks. So now, this is contour bunding. Here, such small bunds are constructed so that to prevent the soil to flow along with the water by reducing the speed of the water. Next, these are check dams. These are also constructed to reduce the speed of the water. Next comes diversion headworks. These are projects where a structure called weir is constructed to increase the water level in the river flow, and the water is off taken through a canal. This water which goes through the canal is regulated and maintained by head regulator. The other components are divide wall, approach channel, fish ladder, scoring wall, guide bank, marginal bund, etc. So now, after sharing some information about watershed management, let's come back to the response and recovery of floods. The first comes developing evacuation plan for the people so that they will evacuate to a higher ground level. Some measures to be taken care of are switching off all the electrical appliances and running towards higher ground levels. Next are these barriers. These are made up of heavy objects and fibers. The main purpose is to stop the flow of water on the road. Next image shows us the rescue team which are helping people to evacuate and rescuing them from with the help of the boats. So the next disaster is fire breakout. Fire breakout means whenever a sudden fire takes place in a house, this is known as fire breakout. Now the measures for mitigation and preparedness. The measures taken for mitigation and preparedness are fire escape layout, fire alarms, fire escape knowledge among the people, and fire extinguishers. Response and recovery. Activate the alarm, call for the firefighting team, call for police, evacuate immediately. In this photo, we can see the application of fire extinguisher. These are assembly emergency kit. The people should have the knowledge of preparing these kits. It consists of water, food, and other medical facilities which are necessary for survival. These plans are already set so that in the case of fire emergency, the people should evacuate. Now comes response and recovery for fire breakout. Whenever the fire takes place, first call for the emergency number 101 or 911 for firefight so that the firefighters would come to rescue. These are called as fire alarms. These are used in the case of emergency fires. The next comes evacuation and rescue. The firefighters help in evacuation and rescue. So now next disaster is earthquake. Now what are the mitigation and preparedness measures for earthquake? Constructing lightweight buildings, evacuation plans, etc. are done for mitigation and preparedness for earthquake. Next are the precautions should be taken, run to open grounds, etc. for response and recovery. Now these are some measures in the case of earthquakes. Whenever the ground starts vibrating or you feel any vibration, do not use the elevator. Use stairs. If you are in a building, cover your head and neck or get under a desk and hold it. Do not stand at the doorway. Next, stay away from the potential dangerous objects such as knives and other sharp materials in the case of earthquakes. The next disaster is terrorist attacks. Mitigation and preparedness for terrorist attacks. All the people should know how to communicate in the case of terrorist attacks. Check on school, emergency, and children, etc. Next are the response and recovery. Health and medical facilities for victims, rescue and search for victims, and survivors. Now next I am gonna talk about Kerala flood which occurred in 2018. In this flood, almost 370 people died and 33,000 people were rescued. The main cause was due to heavy rainfall. This time the rainfall was 256% more than the usual rainfall, and the water level increased. Now during this flood, how the people were rescued? For this mission, massive rescue and relief operations were launched. 40 helicopters, 31 aircrafts, 182 teams of rescue, 18 medical teams of defense forces, 19 teams of NDRF, and 500 boats with necessary rescue equipments were used. These photos shows us how the relief food was exported to Kerala from the other states. Next I'm gonna talk about forest fire which occurred in Bandipur National Park, Karnataka. It occurred on 21 February 2019 and lasted for 4 days till 25 February 2019. Due to this, many creatures died, such as snakes, birds, and many other organisms. These are the pictures showing us the situation when the fire occurred. 10 numbers of Pakistani terrorists entered India from the sea route who had come from Pakistan, Karachi. On 26 November 2008, they attacked Taj Hotel and along with it Oberoi Hotel and many others. The terrorists did bombing, shooting, mass murder, hostage crisis, siege, etc., which caused a lot of chaos. 170 people died, along with 25 foreigners and 9 terrorists. So, how was the rescue done? A team of 200 commandos reached Mumbai from New Delhi. The Indian Armed Forces launched Operation Black Tornado and Black Cat commandos were given in charge. The NSG's commandos were given the charge of the mission. This was a huge attack caused due to Pakistan, and the relationship between India and Pakistan got worse. Now here is the conclusion. International Day for Disaster Reduction is celebrated on 13th October every year, encouraging knowledge networks for disaster management, learn from best practices in disaster preparedness, mitigation and disaster response, community-based disaster risk management, and mobilizing stakeholder participation of self-help groups, women's groups, youth groups, Panchayat Raj institutions, etc. Thank you for watching this video.